Here we go with Agricola, the 10th of August 2022, chapter 13. Ipsi Britanniae. This is nominative plural. The Britons themselves, dialectum. This can be a past passive. This here is a fourth declension in the accusative. So this is when they're recruited or enlisted. The Britons themselves, when enlisted, and tribute and injuncta impero munia, so in the duties joined to them of the empire, so the tributes and carrying out of their duties. Obiant means they undertake. Impigri, that's the adverb. Piga is lazy and impiga is energetically. So the Britons themselves, when they're enlisted, they do all their duties and pay their tribute, and they obey or they undertake these things with energy. C, so it's an if. Absint's a subjunctive, so it's a clause with, and you can figure it out. So injuria is looks like injury, but it's abuses. So if abuses are absum, if they're free from being abused. Has agri tolerant. So this is still talking about the abuses. These they bear or tolerate with difficulty. So if you abuse them, they tolerate this badly. Yam, which is now or already. Now they've been subjected, they've been domesticated or tamed, that they are parient. They're obedient now that they've been subjugated, but non-dum, not yet are they servile. So they're not yet as slaves. Igitor, therefore, primus, the first, omnium of all, Romanorum, so we have omnium Romanorum, both genitives. Therefore, the first of all the Romans, divus Julius, so the divine Julius Caesar, he's their nominative, cum exercitu, with an army, ingressus Britanniam, having entered, that's past passive, into Britain. We don't need the ad there for the accusative. So, divine Julius entered into Britain with an army, quam, although prospera pugna, in a prosperous battle, in a successful battle, terrorvit incolas, he terrified the inhabitants, the incolas, and litore potitus. Potitors, a deponent, meaning having obtained possession of, which takes, it's like utor, it takes an ablative. So he gained power of the shoreline or the coast, sit, potest, able to be seen, ostendici, to be showing the island to posterity, to the future Romans, non tradici, not handing it to them. Mox bella civalia, soon a civil war, and in Republica, with the accusative, so towards the Republic, versa was turned, the arma principium. So these were the arms of the leaders turned against the Republic in a civil war. And longa oblivio, and long forgotten, and with the long forgetfulness of Britain, it's taking a genitive, etiam in pace. Even in peace, they had long forgotten about Britain. They were forgetful of Britain. Continuing on after the colon, concilium id is of the neuter. So this planning, divine Augustus was calling this, not really a planning, what you'd want to call it is, the Loeb calls it policy, which would be the conquest of Britain, and Tiberius took it as precepts, as instructions that they should take Britain. So Caesar had gone over there in 54 AD originally. Now we have agitase Gaius Caesar. Gaius Caesar's in the accusative. De intranda, that's the gerund of concerning the entering Britannia. So of entering Britain, Gaius Caesar agitated it, or it was discussed. Satis constat. So it's basically agreed that satisfactorily he pleaded for it or he was debating it. But ni is like nisi, it means unless or except, and probably except by his velox ingenio, the quickness of his mind, or they say the unstableness of his mind, made him mobili, which is fickle. So his speedy, fickle mind was of regret, penitentiae. So he regretted this, and in Gentes, and there was a huge adverse Germanium conatus. So there's a huge trying, a huge conatus. So he'd really tried heavily to take the Germans. Frustro, which means in vain, fuescent, that's in the past. So he forgot about Britain having been in vain what he was trying against the Germans. Divus Claudius. So the divine Claudius was the author. Iterati. It's a past passive, and it's in the genitive. So he was the author of the work again. Iterati means again, coming from a verb of itero. So again, this work was taken up, and he transvected his legions. He crossed over with his legions, qui, and his auxiliaries, and ad sumpto in partem, in this side of this part, probably in this partnership, rerum of matters, Vespasian he took up with him. Quod initium, which was the beginning, ventura, mox fortunae fuit, which is the beginning soon of his fortune coming, or of his fame and fortune coming. Domite gen, so the races were subdued, or the tribes. Capti regs, the kings captured, and monstratus fatus Vespasianus. And Vespasian was demonstrated, Vespasian was shown by these fates. And the daily dictionary word would be itero. Iteratus was the participle, meaning repeated, which we saw. Consularium primus Aulus Plautius. So the first, Aulus Plautius, praepositus, he was placed in charge of this consular governorship. And subindi, which is an adverb, it means immediately after or from time to time. I'd say this means immediately after here. And immediately after that was Ostorius Scapula. Utoque bello gregarius. Both of these, each of these was special in war, who'd proven special in war or distinguished. Redactaque, and they're reduced gradually, paulatim, little by little, in the form, genitive of a province, the proxima pars, genitive of Britain. And so the closest part of Britain was reduced gradually into the form of a province. Adita, added something female, in super, above this, vetinorum colonia. So added above this was a colony of veterans. Quaedam civitates. So there were certain states. Cogidumno, proper noun, it's a ablative or dative. Regi donate, so that's got to be dative. So certain states were given donate to King Cognidimo. These are in apposition. Bracket. He, ad nostrum, usque, so as far as to us, memorial, to the memory of our time, fidesimus mensid, he remains most loyal to us in memory. Now we go out of the bracket. Vetere, so we have ablative, so that something is old or in old, and iam predem, and now for a long time, recepta, populi Romani consuetudine, consuetudine, God, I'm terrible at speaking out loud, but vetere and consuetudine go together, so this is an old custom, and long ago received, or given, of the Roman people. This is a long custom of the Roman people, that haberit, they would have instrumenta servitudis et reges. These are in different forms, so I'd say it means also. And they would have kings also as the instruments to control the servitude of these regions. Mox. Soon Didius Gallus, the nominative. Parta a prioribus continuit. So he continued in these parts, these lands which he got from prioribus, from these predecessors. Porcus, and a few ad modum, that's our adverb. A few castella, so a few castles, a few forts, fully or to the limits. He moved forwards, pro motus. You can take this as an ablative absolute with the porcus. And so with having moved a few forts more into the ulterior, more beyond this, the old bounds. Per quae fama, through which his fame aucte increased. Querent is a verb. So he was searching for more fame to be increased in his offici, in his duty. Didium Veranius. So we have accusative and then nominative. So Veranius accepted, he received it from Didius. And we have the enclitic qui, and he, intra annum, inside a year, extinctus est. That's passive. So within a year he died. Suetonius hinc Paulinus. So hinc is then, or henceforwards, Suetonius Paulinus by Penio, prosperous res, in prosperous circumstances or matter, have we had it for 2 years, biennio. Subactus nationibus, he subdued nations, qui, and he affirmed or strengthened praesidius. These would be the strengthening his garrisons, basically. Quorum, of which fiducia, probably got confidence, of which confidence Monam into the island of Monam, which is called Anglesey Island, ut vires rebellibus ministrantum agressus. So he got confident and he attacked agressus, the island of Anglesey, which was the vires, a strength to the rebellion. Ministrantum's are accusative present participle, so he was administering to this. Turga, which is behind him, patafacit, and in this occasion, or in this case, he left his rear opened. 15a. For absentia legato, so that this is the legatus, so this is the guy with power, the delegate, in his absence, so the governor was away. Remoto fear, with the fear removed, that's an ablative, the Britons agitare inter se. So they were stirring up things amongst themselves on the mala of servitudis, which is the evil of slavery, of which they were undergoing because they were conquered. Conferre, this can mean comparing, injuries. So they were comparing how they'd been mistreated, and interpretando, which is a gerund. This is like of understanding, interpreting, understanding, ascendere. So it was heating up. They compared what was done to them, which they felt was bad, and they were burning in their understanding. Nihil profecti patentia, which is a submission. So nothing can be completed profici in a submission, nisi, except ut that graviora, more serious or more heavy, tamquam, just as, or so to speak, from facili tolerantibus. So those who are easily bearing or tolerating something, imperentur. Okay, so more graviore, more serious orders come, so to speak, from those who easily bear their suffering or submission, their potentia. Singulos sibi olim reges fuisse. So once olim fuisse, there'd been reges, kings to them, singulos, just one to each single tribe. Nunc binos imperni, and now two were being placed on them. That's a passive infinitive. So it just continues on explaining it. So now they have two rulers, from which is a legatus, he's the governor who deals in blood, and the procurator, he's a different sort of Roman administrator. He savages them, he severets them in bona towards their goods. So he's basically doing something very heavy-handedly towards their possessions. Aeque discordium praepositorum. So equally those placed in charge of them with discord, and equally in concordia, which is agreements. So if they're in discord or in the discord or agreement, these two rulers over them, it is exitiosam, this comes from a form of adjective, is deadly or destructive to the subjects of those who are placed in charge of them equally. And to finish up, ulterius. So of the one, the handful of centurions, this is a fourth, and they're both plural. So if one has a handful of centurions, and ulterius of the other, slaves, vim and contumelias miscere. So there's a mixing in of force and insults. When one has centurions and the other one has slaves, there's still force and insults. Nihil yam. So nothing now of desires, cupidatae. Nothing of lust except them. There's nothing is the exception now except of their desires and their lusts. Looks like I got the pen to work, so yeah. I can draw like this. Cool. That's the adverb. That's it for today.